What's up, fungal associates? Welcome to Completely Arbortrary. It's the podcast about trees and other related topics. I am one of your hosts. My name is Alex Crowson. And of course, I am joined via internet magic, Casey Clapp.
Hi, Alex.
Casey.
I wish I put my finger to my ear so it could be like, okay, it's come through. Like, like there's always that second in
I love that trope.
Things. Mm-hmm. Well, it happens. I had to convince you to do this by just saying, "Wanna?"
Yes.
And you said yes, because I had just the worst series of events last night, which has led me to feel that I am coming down with an illness. I shouldn't say led, but that was the last of a series of events.
A series of unfortunate events, literally.
Yes.
I'm going to start calling you Lemony.
Well, all right. And I'm going to call you Snickets. So we made plans to go to the Thorns game, the Portland Thorns game, the famed women's football team here in Portland. And all good and well. I was working over at my mom's house for a little bit. She needs some help getting some things, an old wood pile and a little like wood shed on top of it. Did that, and I was with my friend Dan, and I was like, well, Dan, we haven't talked in a while. Let's catch up. So we went and snagged ourselves a beer at the Breakside Brewing, and everything is just working out great. And I got back to my house just in time to ride my bike downtown to the football match, and I didn't get maybe a half a mile away, and the chain on my bike snapped. Not only did it snap, it lodged itself between the frame and the wheel and put the bike into a complete skid. So
did you fall?
I did not. I did not fall.
Okay.
I actually skid on my bike often because it's a fixed gear, and that's just what you do when you're cool about it,
It is very cool.
Yeah, thank you, Alex. I got myself on one of the Nike bikes. These there's like electric bike share bikes that we have here in town.
Yes.
First time I ever rode one. So then, watched the football game. We won. It was fine. Hung out with some friends. I really enjoyed it. As we were leaving, there's these big metal gates on the doors, and they were all shut. But it was like you would just press it to leave, and you walk out that kind of door. Just press a little bar. So all good and well. We were walking by two doors that both swung towards each other. So as I go out, the door swings to my left. As the person to my right goes out, it swings to their right. So the doors ultimately would slam into each other in the kind of the middle area where they were attached. So I'm walking out, and the door, it's a nice, reasonable steel heavy door, and it just started swinging. It's like, oh, I don't want it to like completely swing around and hit someone on the other side. So I tried to grab it and just stop it, which I successfully did. But at the same exact time, there was nothing stopping these two doors from slamming into each other, and they just crushed my finger between them. And I'm pretty positive that my nice finger, you can see, Alex, the color difference. It's also quite swollen.
Yeah.
Here, check this out.
Oh my God. Yes, I see it, Casey.
Yeah, it's like
Casey's got a big cartoon purple swollen finger.
It really is. It looks like something that needs to have like a little bow tied on it. That's happened because I got run over. I'm icing it as we speak, and I'm going to see if I can go to a clinic today and see if they'll be like, "Yep, I think you smashed that little bone to pieces."
Damn, boy.
It sucks.
Well, this goes into my theory that watching sports as a hobby is not good for
it's you. It's dangerous. All right,
do it.
You know what? This does add to it. I think you're right. This goes on that side of the evidence box.
That sucks, Case. I'm so sorry.
Right. And then so I couldn't sleep very well, and we didn't record this yesterday because both of us didn't have a great night's sleep. So we said, hey, if we got tomorrow, let's just do that. We'll be energized. And so I didn't sleep very well because my finger was throbbing the whole night.
Oh my God.
And I woke up this morning and I'm like, I feel like I'm getting sick. So you're like, I can't get sick right now. I'm a musician. And I was like, yeah, that's fair.
I'm playing that Super Bowl halftime show. I can't risk getting sick.
Yeah, no, we can't risk you losing that great opportunity. We're going to pay you, I think, $75, right?
Well, dang, Case. Yeah, that sucks, and quite a road we've taken to get to this moment.
Yeah, it really is. It really is.
To record this perfect episode of Completely Arbortrary. Well, with that transition, Casey, we're going to talk about a tree today.
Yeah,
that tree is the Western Sycamore
That is right.
Wow. This is a Platanus racemosa.
Platanus racemosa. And I have one final thing that I'm excited about. I made an artistic decision, Alex, and I did not ask you about it, but I kind of did already.
Wow.
This is October, otherwise known as what we've called MTV's TRL, Trees Request Live.
Oh, this is the first episode of that?
Yes. Now,
I you know what? It's true. I do really wish you had told me.
I know. And now I'll explain why.
What a shit show. And I mean that literally. This is a shit show.
Sorry.
God damn it.
Honestly, I know that sometimes you hate it, but the surprise in your voice, I think, is what makes this show so beautiful. It's so authentic.
Oh yeah. This is it's like gladiatorial combat. Let's all clap and laugh at the man dying. Except the death is metaphorical.
Except the death is metaphorical. Well, I'm sorry. It doesn't have to be, Alex, of course. We can always make an artistic decision afterwards.
Oh, I can't do that now. You think I'm going to be the villain after all this?
Oh, how I can turn the tables on you now.
You fucker.
Well, the reason I'll explain, and we actually might be able to keep because we're going a little long here, but it's going to be okay because
everything's fine.
The subject of today is more of a reflection, an opportunity for reflection.
Okay.
So the way that I got here is I generally feel like the fall is a good time to reflect. I also have done a whole bunch of things over the last couple months, and I've been finally getting an opportunity to kind of take a breath and look around again.
And the perfect time to slow down, as the nature around us kind of slows down.
Exactly. And I know a lot of people do this in like midwinter. It's like a New Year's thing, reflect on the last year.
Sure.
And I generally, this is the time it feels most natural for me.
Cool.
And I know that you and I have talked a little bit, and you also have been doing some reflecting. So I wanted to give you an opportunity to share that. So I thought, okay, what tree can I cover that makes that you'd want to do some reflecting under?
Wow.
And I started brainstorming. I was like, okay, well, there's some trees that are blooming right now that I think might be kind of fun, but let's check that out. And we already did that. That's a witch hazel. And the species that we would cover that blooms in the fall, I think is more of a shrub. So it would be disingenuous to cover that.
Okay.
Then I was thinking, I was talking with Carrie, my partner, and she was like, well, maybe the willow. And I was like, honestly, we already did a willow. We already talked about like a weeping willow, which is the one you'd imagine. And I had just was brainstorming, and I went to our big long list of requested trees.
Yes.
And
we do keep a list, people.
Yes, we do. And it's very long. We've covered a lot of those trees. I haven't actually cleaned it up in a little while. But one of those trees was the sycamore, and that was requested by one Danny Haberman. So, Danny, if you're out there hanging, thank you. I believe you requested this on the 23rd of March, 2021.
Oh, wow. That's about average turnaround time for a request from you and I.
Time. We'd had the show for approximately 3 months, and now we have gone up to 3 years, and here we are.
Yeah.
So that was the tree that popped up, and I was like, all right, you know what? Whatever. We're just gonna do it. I'm just gonna do this live. We're gonna pick a sycamore, and I'll do some research. I'll see what it's about. And then in that, I ended up getting onto a bit of some Greek mythology, not about the Western sycamore, which is Platanus racemosa, our subject tree today, but in fact the Oriental sycamore, which is Platanus orientalis.
Wow.
It is one of the parents of the London plane tree, which is a tree that we have covered, and the other parent is the American sycamore from the eastern side of North America.
Okay.
And so I was like, okay, well, let's just do this. Let's sit it out. And so I ended up, reading into it and found myself reading Plato's Phaedrus. And it turns out that commonly in Greek mythology or in Greek kind of philosophical thinking, they would sit under a plane tree to have these philosophical discussions.
Wow.
And I was like, this is too much because I completely had given up trying to find a good reflection tree, and then randomly chose a tree that turns out is very connected to an old idea of like reflection and philosophy and mindfulness.
Wow, Casey. Well, Case, we got to talk about this old Western Sycamore, but we also got to take a quick break, and we will be right back with this wonderful tree here on Completely Arbortrary. Welcome back to Completely Arbortrary. Today we are talking the Western Sycamore Platanus racemosa.
Well said, Alex.
Speaking of Plato.
Well,
Casey, let's imagine, as we do every episode, you and I got confused because I was like, I wanted to say we're walking along the garden path with Plato, and he's talking our ears off, and we're like, fucking blowhard. Jeez.
Like, geez, I just want to enjoy my walk.
But let's say instead we are in Southern California, maybe just outside of LA. Hey, how about we're in Burbank, huh?
Beautiful Burbank.
And we come across some Western Sycamore. Casey, let's ID this tree.
All right. That's a lovely place to be walking, and that is right in the thick of where this tree grows natively.
Perfect.
Essentially, in the Central Valley of California, all the way up to Redding, like just south of Redding in the valley there. And then all the way down along the coast and down into Baja, California in Mexico. And it's a tree that grows in in canyon lands and next to creeks and in areas where there's a little seepage, same way that you'd expect a cottonwood to be growing somewhere or an alder up here.
Sure, yeah.
But it isn't necessarily restricted to that space. Like it can grow there, but it tends to grow there, but it can also be found being planted in more upland areas, and it can grow perfectly well. But that's where it tends to dominate. And this is true of all sycamores, whether you are in the Southwest in Mexico or over in Europe or Asia, you'll generally find them kind of loving that really nice wet area. So the thing about this tree is it is also very similar to other sycamores in that it has the very quintessential colored bark that just screams, this is a sycamore tree.
Wow.
And so we're going to start with the bark because that's probably what you're going to notice from far away other than, the size of the tree. But it has the same kind of platy exfoliating bark on the super young twigs all the way going down until it really starts to develop a big diameter at the base of the tree. So maybe 2 feet or so. It will always have this white, very smooth bark with these gray, tan, kind of brown colored, rounded puzzle piece like parts that just fall off. Yeah. So it looks like almost this camouflage going all the way up the stem until the very tip are just bone white.
It looks so much to me like Stewardia.
Yeah, it totally does. I think Stewardia tends to be a little bit more on the kind of tan side, like a very light beige, whereas the sycamores proper, they always tend to have more white, like bone or shell white, you know what I mean?
Gotcha, yeah.
But otherwise, yeah, they look so similar to each other.
Gorgeous.
And so you walk up and you'll notice, as you go down to where, like I said, it gets really big stems, it starts to get more furrowed and it keeps a lot more of that bark on and it doesn't exfoliate off. And it becomes furrowed and platy and gray and kind of a little bit darker. It just becomes rougher and more tumbled, more something that you'd be like, okay, this is a tough big old tree here. And even though it still maintains this beautiful kind of white bark for a lot of it. A lot of them, if you look up photos of them on, in fact, I'll put this in our show notes, Calscape, which is their native plant society in California.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, they got a bunch of photos of these trees growing in essentially the middle of streams. And a lot of the bark at the base has been kind of exfoliated because water would flood and then just completely rip off all that extra bits of layers. And then it would just be back to normal and it would grow this nice, beautiful white bark again. So you can see these huge trees that have white bark all the way down to the very base. And then that is where they get huge. These trees can get gigantic.
How big are we talking here?
Well, I say gigantic, meaning they get like wide and tall. So 40 feet to 80 feet is probably what you could expect in terms of like the maximum height.
Okay.
But they always tend to grow out with these huge rounded canopies where they have these massive limbs that come out in every direction and create these big balls, this like gigantic globe-like canopy.
Yeah.
It's just stunning.
Well, Casey, speaking of creating balls, this fruit.
You better be careful. You better be careful with that, Alex.
This fruit, it reminds me, I mean, it looks identical to me to the sweet gum.
Ah, yeah, that's fair.
To a gumball that makes little spiky fruits.
It does. It does make that. In fact, in my tree book, I have lumped it together to say little spiky balls. So I have also said that that's what it does.
There you go.
So it does. It creates these. Well, first it has flowers, just like every broadleaf flowering plant, and those flowers are in two different styles. The first one is the male or the pollen flowers that come out, and they are in tiny little clusters that come out on new growth, and they're like a greenish yellow color. And there's usually about 4 to 5. And you'll notice the scientific name is racemosa, and that means that it has raceme-like fruit. So it has this long stem that has one ball of flowers on one side, and then it kind of zags, and then there's another one, and then it zigs, and there's another one, then it zigs again. And usually has about 4 to 5 of these clusters of male flowers, the pollen flowers.
Yeah.
And then there are the female flowers, which are in the same kind of clusters, but there's generally 2 to 7 of those clusters, and they are on older growth. And they are the same kind of things, but they're the color red. And that's because they have, of course, different parts. Instead of having the stamens, they have the pistils. So they're a little bit different color. Now, Alex, we usually start by talking about the leaves, don't we?
Yes.
This time, though, it's last. Because you know what? These leaves, they're fine.
Oh, save the worst for last, as they say.
Exactly. It's why you eat all of the good parts of your meal and then the wilted spinach at the end.
And then you eat the bones when you're all done with that.
Yes, yeah, you do.
I don't think the leaves are too bad.
Yeah, I don't think they're too bad either. Now, I want to know your opinion. What do you think they look like? If you were to say, these leaves look like...
Well, they look like... It's another leaf, but I think they look like a marijuana leaf.
Oh, okay, that's fair. All right. I'll give you that.
I'm seeing lots of like kind of shaggy serration.
Yeah, it's kind of like very large, wide-spaced teeth along the edge. They're palmately lobed, so they look a lot like a maple leaf or something like that.
Sure.
I think they look like Yoda's hands.
That's so funny, Casey, because I can totally see that. Yes,
Okay,
but the other thing I was going to say was an X-wing, like the profile, the bird's eye profile of an X-wing.
Okay, sure, I can see that too. All right, yeah. Well,
but yes,
either way,
Yoda's hands are much more apt, I think.
Okay, great. That makes me feel good. I was like, am I crazy? Am I going crazy?
That was great. Yeah.
Yeah, they kind of look like, in my opinion, they look like 3 lobes, but then the 2 lobes on either side of a central lobe also have like weird lobes that come off of them. So,
yeah, they just have a little thumb on the side.
They do. Each one of them has a little thumb. Yeah, so they're really goofy. They look again like these London plane trees or any other plane tree, except their individual lobes are just really long and skinny. So I can see that the marijuana leaf, definitely, I can totally see that.
Yeah.
So this tree, Platanus racemosa, otherwise known as the California sycamore or the western sycamore, is a species that grows only in California and Mexico, along with many other species. There's, in fact, if you go to the Wikipedia and you read how many trees there are. They say a small number of trees because they're still deciding which how many there are. Oregon State lists 6 to 7 species. So they just got done doing kind of a splitting job on a lot of the species that grow in the Southwest and in Mexico, which is there's like 5 that grow in Mexico. Again, Mexico. God dang it. You always have more than everybody.
True, yeah.
It's such a unique botanical place. First off, have you heard about the chariot allegory?
The chariot allegory.
Yes.
By Plato, of course.
This is correct. This is in the I guess it's the book of Phaedrus, or the book Phaedrus that he wrote.
It's been a while since I've read that one.
What? You're not up on your Plato, Alex? What do you do all day? Come on.
In high school, we read Plato's Cafe. Do you remember that one?
No, I have not heard about that.
It was like an imagined like conversation between Plato and a modern man.
Oh wow! No, I don't know that.
And it kind of went over Plato's like big core concepts. You know?
Yeah. And that's like one of his big things, is that he always wrote these kind of imagined situations that were between, other people. So it was his ideas coming from like other people's other characters' dialogues. Right. But it's about Socrates talking to this dude Phaedrus, who just listened to a speech by another guy, Lysias, and they're just walking through the countryside, and he ends up sitting underneath this plane tree, and apparently a chaste tree, and says, okay, let's talk about these things. And then he goes off, and they have this big discussion about madness and love and the big kind of like things that they discuss are very like, heady ancient Greek ideas. And one of the things that I ended up reading about and kind of finding was this chariot allegory. And so I was like, what exactly is it? Like, what exactly are they trying to say? And I ended up just kind of reading into it a little bit, and it was very fun because he essentially has this like conversation about the soul. And the easiest way to describe it is that the soul is kind of split into these 3 parts. And one part is a chariot and a charioteer, and that's essentially kind of you. And then the other 2 parts are one is white horse and the other is a black horse. And one kind of represents the positive, rational parts of your mind, like righteousness and things like this. And then the other part is kind of the exact opposite. I imagine it like the quintessential angel and devil on your shoulder almost.
Okay, yeah.
And so
you're driving both.
Yes, and you have to kind of steer yourself, or your soul is steering itself with these 2 different things kind of pulling it in either direction. Cool. And you have to kind of control it. And it's a really interesting kind of thought for a few different reasons. Because one, the idea is, hey, no one's perfect and no one's made 100% of one or the other. Your soul is always going to be this thing that gets pulled in a lot of different directions. Sometimes you let one horse take a little bit more power. Sometimes you pull it in or you rein it in, and then you end up going with the other horse, and the other horse takes you a different direction, a different place. But it was a really interesting way to say, nobody's perfect, but also everyone has, a lot of different forces that are pulling it in a lot of different directions. And one other thing that I really liked about this is he calls the soul a self-mover, and kind of says, what has a soul, what doesn't have a soul. And it said if it moves from within, then it has a soul. If it moves from without, it does not have a soul. So you and I move from within. We choose to move, and we move.
Sure.
A tree chooses to move and moves for all intents and purposes. Let's just go with the idea a tree chooses. But a tree will grow its own way, as you and I have said many times. A mouse, an insect, all these things will kind of choose where they're going to grow, and they kind of make their own ways, versus a rock. A rock does not do that. A rock has to have something move it from the outside.
I see.
And it generally does not create its own movement, which I think is interesting if we think about the Earth as an entirety,
Sure,
like plate
yeah.
tectonics, if we take all the rocks and put them together. Well, and that was kind of the one thing that I thought for a moment, I should do a deep dive into this and really like check it out. But then I think if we do that, we're going to need to cover the specific Platanus orientalis, and then we can really have this discussion.
Sure. Yeah.
This is mostly a moment where I wanted to talk about this tree and say, you know what? There are paintings of the Western sycamore with people laying underneath it because often, just like the cottonwood, they are the big shade trees that grow next to streams and what is otherwise a kind of arid and usually very hot part of our country.
Sure.
And I think that would be, it's a very quintessential tree to sit down, take a breath, reflect, and think, where are we? What's going on? How's this all going? And what's happening? And so this is my attempt to get us to do that. And I thought that I wanted to keep the idea of us sitting underneath a Platanus, but culturally, we are from the west coast of North America. Mm-hmm. So if we're going to be talking about a tree, it's got to be this one if this is going to be our plane tree. And of course, like I said, it was requested, so it kind of all came together.
Sure.
But that's why we're not going to be sitting underneath Platanus orientalis. We're going to be sitting under Platanus racemosa.
I love it.
And I would hope, would be able to kind of do a little bit of reflection about kind of where we've been. I know we get a lot of emails recently where everyone has responded and they said, hey, I know you guys have been having a lot of busy stuff, and then, saying, hey, I'm needing this, or just want to connect with you guys on that. And so I would love if we could just give everyone a nice little update of where we're at without it being a 5-minute introduction period where we're like, yeah, things have been hard. Anyway, let's ID that tree. Now we can actually sit underneath our Western plane and just gently say, yeah, so here's the sitch.
Well, did you see what I instinctively did with my body, Casey?
Yeah, you relaxed and put your hands over your head and you thought, you know what? This is going to be easy.
I'm leaning back against a tree trunk. I love this idea, Case.
Okay, cool. I thought that you would. I will admit to everyone out there, I did not cover this with Alex before I decided. This entire episode has just been sprung on you.
Oh my God. This is my personal hell, but
yeah, it is. It's a personal hell in the best possible way, right?
Yeah, I guess the idea is that I should learn to not have this be my personal hell and just roll with the punches.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone can take it their own way. You don't have to change.
Yeah. Well, thanks. Thank you, Casey. Yeah. So let's update people. Yeah. We've basically, the kind of surface level thing that's like tripping my radar off for this is our inbox, our Gmail inbox.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like filling up, and like we have like our starred section, like our important, let's definitely get to this ASAP, is like way too long,
Yeah. Way too long and way too old, honestly, is the real
thing. Yeah. We have people waiting for us to respond. It's so much pressure, and like you're better about not letting that pressure build to like, a vacuum seal where you just like can't move.
You can't get it out.
Yeah.
I do try.
I'm a bit more like, the more that's on my plate, the more I kind of just shut down,
Yeah, which I think is a very accurate thing. And if I can share from my side, I have this nice little legal pad. It's the small ones. It's not the big like 8x11. But the other morning, I sat down and I wrote like, one thing, one item on a list in each one of the lines. And, there's probably 30 lines there. And I filled up 4 whole pages of individual things that I'd like to do, from big to little,
Jesus,
giant things to things that are like vacuum your floor, things that are like, just, I can check this off by sending a text message.
Sure. Yeah. I thought you were gearing up to be like, and I'm going to read them to you right now. We're going to get some stuff done, Alex.
Yeah, this is actually me just airing my grievances right now. Yeah, one of the things I see here, Alex, is something that you could do. No, this whole page is actually just things that you need to be doing. No,
what does it say here? Urgent? Oh, I guess you should probably do these immediately, huh?
That would be such a funny way, except you do all the recording or the editing of our recordings. So this would be the worst podcast. We would just say, "Hey, we're going to reflect a little bit," and then cut out everything. Right,
and we'll be right back.
No. This is just. I was just going to say that is the extent of my big thing. Where you said the more you have on your plate, the more you're overwhelmed.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I feel you, because as soon as I did that, it felt great to get it all out, and then I immediately went through and was like, "Where do I start? Oh my god!"
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, would you like to just go first and just kind of tell us what you're feeling underneath the sycamore tree?
Oh sure. I mean, how personal are we getting here?
Wait, do you hear those birds chirping, Alex? Oh, that's so nice.
Wow, I cannot do a bird chirp.
Yeah, nice little. That's very good. Maybe just edit that in post.
Oh, there's a woodpecker.
Wow. No, we don't have to get any personal. I was just hoping you would catch us up with kind of where you're at.
Yeah, I can get personal. Sure, if you're going to ask me, if you're going to beg.
Well, if you don't, we're gonna end the podcast tomorrow.
Okay, so life goes on. I'm a wee bit depressed. Have been for about 2 decades.
Since you're 15. That's rough.
Yeah, it's just kind of how I am. I don't know. But yeah, it's I'm in a bit of a bout,
Yeah, you shared with me that you spent some time reflecting on, just where you're at and what you're trying to do a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. And I had a relationship end earlier this year, and then the podcast is an ever-present sort of star destroyer hanging over my home.
That's what you think of this? Destroyer?
I love the show. I love making the show.
I really want to know which planet you think your home is.
Really Jakku.
Okay, never mind. I don't want to ask.
But yeah, so I love the podcast. I love making the podcast, obviously, but me, I hate work, and
yeah,
this is work, so I just haven't been feeling myself, and I've been slowly chugging away at my first full length record.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that, by the way.
Thanks. Yeah. I just had a studio day yesterday, actually.
Yeah. And in the meantime, you've been doing other people's records and doing a lot of producing. So
yeah,
I feel like you're trying to build your own house while building others also.
Totally. Yeah. And it's fun also, but again, it's work. Yeah. I don't know. Just like a lot of, I was talking to my therapist about this, and a couple of close friends, and now all of you. I just, there's been a lot of big changes, which I think is good. About every 4 years, I feel like this happens in my life.
Yeah, and the pandemic wasn't helpful in that regard. Although it did bring in, what we're doing now. So that was a big change on top of a big change.
True. The only reason we're doing the podcast. Yeah. But yeah, just like too much. I'm just like, stop with the big life changes. I can't fucking take anymore.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of, I'm in a bit of a holding pattern, and then that causes me stress because I'm like, well, what the fuck is next? Like, what am I doing? Basically, Casey, I am intelligent enough to know that everything feels bad, but not intelligent enough to figure out how to solve it.
Yeah. Well, it is hard.
I'm right in that stupid sweet spot, smart enough to be sad.
but not smart enough to figure out how to get yourself out of it, or figure out what it is that's causing that kind of emotional state. Yeah. Well, I always do, as I say to everyone, encourage everyone, walk outside and go do a bit of time in the forest. And I know you like to go to Southwester, right? Go chill out up there.
Yeah, that's sort of like my speed in terms of spending time in nature. Is a hipster, a vintage trailer park in the woods.
A hipster vintage trailer park in the woods. That sounds lovely, I have to say.
But yeah, I need to get out of my apartment. I need to get off of this busy boulevard that I live on, and not bring any electronics with me. Just bring my phone and delete all the apps. And, sit on a beach. That's what I really want to do, Casey. I want to go to Italy, and I want to rent an Airbnb by the beach, and I just want to sit on the beach, like in a Speedo, just eating ham. That's
Hey,
all I want.
there you go. I think it's a great idea. Their ham's
Yeah.
really good over there, I have to admit.
See, I thought it might be.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are sort of the big pieces of my life. So I'm okay. I don't want anybody to worry, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's life is tough right now, and that's okay, and it'll get better eventually. And then after a little while of being better, it'll get worse. So then
It's a
it's
cycle
just life.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm totally with you. I think that's prescient for you to notice that it happens like every 4 years. There's a cycle to it that kind of creates itself. You get started on something, and then after 4 years, it kind of starts to fade in its kind of shininess and newness, and then
Totally
start it up again.
Yeah, and we're right on schedule, and I need to I need to
for
do
me
something.
It's every 5.
Here.
Yeah, I've only
really?
ever been able to do something for a long time about every 5 years, between 4 and 5, I suppose.
Sure.
Ultimately, because at the end of year 5, I'm like, okay, the change has been made and I have done something. So working at the city of Portland, did it for 5 years and said, now I'm moving on to step 2, and step 2 is the podcast. And so so we're coming on to 4 years, and we'll see where it goes after that.
Yeah. But that's me, Case. What's what are look at, is that a kingfisher?
What? I love kingfishers. God, they're so beautiful this time of year. Man, these Southern California canyons filled with all these beautiful sycamores, they're just so nice. They're just so nice.
Casey, I know that your big thing is the book right now, but of course you have a personal life as well.
I do. I have all sorts of things happening.
Yeah.
Well, right now my room is a mess, as you can probably surely see from the Zoom video or whatever that we're doing.
Yeah.
And it is bothersome to me because over the course of the last several weeks, as everyone knows, I've been trying to finish up all the photography for the book that I'm writing, this Tree ID guide, which I'm still very excited about and am very, very much happy that I took this on. However, I've been describing it to people as Punic Wars, and they've all looked straight at me and been like, that makes no sense, and I don't understand what you mean by that.
What do you mean by that?
I shall regale you.
Okay.
The historic Punic Wars between Rome and Carthage. Where do we begin? No, there was 3 Punic Wars is the whole thing. There was the big one that started it all, and then it just kind of fizzled into this little like humph. I don't like you, and you don't like me, and that was it. It lasted for 80 years or something,
Jesus.
and then not the war. Kind of like there was space in between these wars.
Okay.
The second one was very small, and so the first one or the second Punic War they kind of just rounded it up to Punic War just because they said, well, that was kind of another thing that wasn't quite a big war, but wasn't quite like the end of the whole conflict. And then the third Punic War is the one where Rome literally wiped it off the map and said, we are now making, like, this is another huge, gigantic, big war. And then, like, it was like big one, little kind of thing, and then another big one.
And these are wars between the Romans and the I can't say that word.
Yeah, Carthaginians.
Carthaginian, thank you.
Yeah, which is essentially where Tunisia is now. So they were all northern African merchant community. They sailed on the seas and colonized a lot of areas in North Africa and the Mediterranean. So it was essentially these giant, huge. Who's going to be the biggest person in the room kind of thing between Rome and Carthage. Carthage lost, and now Rome is what Rome is. If Rome lost, then Carthage would probably end up being the whole, we'd be talking about the Carthaginian Empire right now.
Wow, interesting.
Potentially, who knows?
Sure.
But at the end of the day, the writing the whole thing, like actually figuring out all the stuff was my big one. And then in between, I got to, do a couple small bits and some graphs and some things, and that was all good and well. And then the last one that I just got done with was turning in all the photos. And I had no idea how much work and effort all this photography was going to be.
You did say last week, I think you said, I've never worked harder in my life.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel. Like I worked every day for 16 hours a day, legitimately. I would get up around 8 o'clock and I would not go to sleep till 12 or 1 sometimes.
Oh my God.
So I don't know if that's exactly, maybe it was more like 12 hours, but it was a long, long time. I would work all day, and I would get up and I would go through photos, and essentially every tree, 330 some, are covered by 0 to 4, maybe 5 photos. Then there are photos at the beginning. There are photos at each kind of introduction to these things. And so I would write this, or I would collect all these photos. I'd taken them before, and I would go through them now with an eye of like, okay, what's good? What do I need? And I'd realize, oh, I missed some photos. Some photos that I got are just not good. They're not the way that I would do it now, because I kind of learned my techniques and my consistent kind of method for taking these shots. And so I would need to go through them and say, okay, well, actually, I need to get on all the leaves for all these different trees better than I did before. Need to get all these other trees. And so I'd have to go out and find them, and I would drive around the Arboretum. I would drive all through town, and consistently I would get up and work for 4 or 5 hours. Then I would go take photos for 6 hours. Then I would come back and process all those photos and start checking off all the boxes that I needed, which would be a little bit of cropping, a little bit of editing, a little bit of choosing what's the best out of the 5 best out of the 600 okay photos. And it was just very time consuming. Then on top of that, I had to redo some drawings that I had done, and also organize them and name them. So I think there ended up being about 50 gigabytes worth of photos that I worked with.
Wow.
So it was a lot of work, and I was just working really hard. I had to play some Frisbee tournaments in between. Went to a wedding, and I just officiated my friend Melissa and Stefan's wedding this last week.
That's right.
So I was like, I got to get this right. I want to do a really good job. So I'm trying to focus on all these things. And, then my room started to look like hell. And, I haven't answered. I have in my email 250 emails, and haven't been able to get to things for the show the way I normally like to, like we were talking about earlier. And so it's just this, trying to get all these things done and taken care of all at the same time, while still trying to put on multiple different things. And then got other little, irons in the fire that I am trying to sort out. So that's just a big thing. And I finally sat down to make this list on Monday morning, when I actually woke up and was like, you don't need to get out of bed. You can just sit here and relax and just stay here. If you're tired, just turn around, close your eyes.
Yeah.
Just relax. And so I ended up kind of having this kind of half waking, half sleeping like moment for about 2.5 hours, from like 7 to 9:30. And then got up, sat on the porch, got a coffee, and then just wrote down all these things that I wanted to do. And they go from vacuuming my room to cleaning the truck to figuring out a new way to make the little truck bed platform that I have in there to sleep on, and thinking about building shelves downstairs and redoing all these cones, because I took a bunch of photos of all the cones and I took them out of their jars. Now they're kind of scattered everywhere. So I just really would like to go and recenter myself and kind of get all the order that I had around me back, because I just kind of let it go. And so that is something that I'm reflecting on, is, keeping a balance in my life of, understanding, okay, this is a big project. Start today. And then by the time it's due, you won't have anything to do. It'll be completely finished.
That balance, Casey, I think is like, like the hardest thing to master that I've experienced in life. Is like, I'll get really into something, a project or a new like hobby, right? Yeah. And then I'll blink and I'll realize that, oh my God, I haven't done laundry in like 3 weeks.
Yeah, right.
So like to live a life where you are taking showers and brushing your teeth every day and doing the dishes and getting the mail and answering emails and exploring this new hobby or this project that you're working on.
Yeah.
In a, and not like binging on experiences, right? Because like, you're inevitably going to borrow energy from something else that needs your attention. Yeah.
Right. I mean, energy is, it's endless, but it also is finite in a kind of weird yin and yang kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Well, the other thing that I thought about with that is, I love trees. I love talking about trees, working with trees, doing things about trees. Obviously, we do this podcast. I have my own businesses that I'm trying to get off the ground at the same time, kind of arboriculture consulting and things. And I have learned, you and I have been working for ourselves for the last 4 years rather, just doing what we can, trying to make this show into a, something that people like and something that can support us financially.
Mm-hmm.
So far, so good, but it also has been hard. We're not millionaires. No one's sitting here on a pile of cash being like, podcasting, that's the way to do it.
Never.
That to say, we also have worked very hard to do all these things, and we can't really take a break. We can't really step away and take 2 weeks off, because one of us has to always be there kind of making sure things are happening and working and functioning. And I've learned this because also I'm, have my own consulting business, which I officially have insurance for now. So now I can give all the advice I could ever want and not be afraid that someone's going to sue me out of house and home. Which I don't get things wrong. So far, so good. Knock on wood. I haven't said that tree's not going to fall over, and then it does fall over. So that's good. I have no problems with that. It's not like I need insurance to cover all the damage I've caused. But it's a smart move if you're running a business like that. So I find myself moving forward with these big projects, and in reflection, I found that there is something that was told to me years ago by one of my theater professors when I was talking about where I wanted to be in like the life I was looking forward to. I was saying something about where I wanted to be, and I was like, man, I just want to live this life. And he wrote back something that now feels cliche to me, but he said, as you try to live the life that you want to live, you're going to end up looking back and realizing that you're living life right now. You're actively living your life. You're not working towards something. You're in it right now. It's hard to see in the moment. And I have to agree with him, because now we've had this podcast, I'm working on this business, I'm writing a book, I'm covered in cones from left to right and center.
Both vinyl and natural.
Yes, exactly. And ink inside of my skin, like there's just, everything is all happening. And I have to look back and be like, man, how did I get here? Like, oh yeah, I've been doing it this whole time, So it makes me feel good. But then, like I said, when I write these lists, it feels overwhelming for what I still have kind of in front of me and the goals that I have still.
Yeah.
So it's overwhelming, but I feel like also it's been a nice slow process. Nothing was built in an instant, and you and I have gotten to this place. You're making records right now. You're putting out your own, you're producing other people's, you're producing this podcast, and you have now for 4 years, as well as co-hosted and co-created it.
Yeah.
So I think that, looking back in reflection of where we are right now in this lovely, beautiful fall of 2024, and thinking like, wow, well, where were we 4 years ago? Where were we 8 years ago? And did we ever think we'd be here sitting underneath this western sycamore with that creek off in the distance, just kind of rumbling, and think, hey, look at that. We've been doing it. It's been a struggle, but it's better than being held to account by other people who don't have our best interest in mind. We're just looking to capitalize on our labor, kind of thing.
I hate all bosses except for myself.
Yeah. Then every now and then you do get mad even at yourself.
Yeah. Then, that's true, Casey. I think I'm guilty sometimes of having I'll think like, what's wrong that I need to fix?
Yeah.
Rather than saying, well, what's right that I used to need to fix that I did fix?
Yeah, that's a good perspective.
I've always wanted to work for myself. We've been doing it for 4 years. It hasn't always been great, but it certainly has been better than working for some idiot.
Yeah. And you also have had the time to focus on other things. Like you've started to make bookmarks. You gave me one, and you have also been selling them, and like have some real success with just another little creative project that you're just like, you know what? I have the time and the ability to actually do this creative project, and I'm going to do it. And you've gone for it, and it's been very successful as far as I understand.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm in three stores. around Portland and California.
It's incredible.
It's just a little. It's so. I know it's so random, but I just got a little bee in my bonnet. I've wanted to doing it for a long time, and I finally decided to make bookmarks.
Yeah. Hey, that's what I think is the positive side to any other sacrifices that we make in order to, work for ourselves in whatever regard we do. That it does give us the opportunity to kind of focus on all these other things. So in one way, that's a good balance.
Yeah, not bad.
So I think that's fair, and it's something that I think is a privilege to be able to do, and I think it's something that is nice to be able to reflect on and say, yeah, okay, I got to see where I'm at, rather than I don't know, the grass can always appear greener on the other side. If it's sometimes easier to have someone just tell you, go do this all day. And you're like, wonderful. When you're done at 6:00 or whatever, you shut your computer and you're finished. You don't even need to think about it. So I think that there is, the grass can be greener, but I think that it may not be the kind of life that we can sustain for, forever without some larger changes. But I think that this is, it does allow us to really focus on a lot of miscellaneous things. I certainly would not have been able to write a Tree ID book where I was working 12 hours a day while working, for another 40-hour work week. I can't imagine who could do that. That's insane.
Yeah, man. I feel pretty lucky for the position we're in. Whether I've taken complete advantage of it, I don't know, but I've certainly, it was needed,
Yeah.
Casey, like how they will say, like, man, things are so bad right now in the world, so dark and grim, and like they feel really hopeless. And then you look at life for the average person in like the 1300s.
Yeah, you did that.
Like,
or you read that
man, that was fucking terrible.
It was really bad.
Yeah. And now we have like ibuprofen, right?
Yeah,
which is great.
We do. Trust me. It has been helping my purple finger.
Yes. We have grocery stores, and like the quality of life, as bad as we feel it is sometimes, is like so much better now than it was a few hundred years ago.
Yeah.
Of course, other bad things came with all that stuff. But
yes, yeah.
What I'm trying to impart is that, I might grumble and gripe right now about this or that, but like compared to 5 years ago, things are looking pretty good, and it's always like the goalposts always move, right?
Yes.
Like you always want more, you always want like better, which I think is a good attitude to have. Always striving for like the next big thing in your life, or how to improve, your health or your relationships. But it all like an addiction to that forward looking, I think can also be hurtful if you're not stopping under a sycamore tree to say, you know what, things are all right.
Exactly.
Well, Casey, thanks for joining me under this beautiful tree.
Yeah. Thanks for having thanks for coming with me.
Yeah, I appreciate the check-in. And now let's look up at it and judge it by giving it a rating.
And I think that's perfect.
And we got to do so after a quick break. We'll be right back with Completely Arbortrary. Welcome back to Completely Arbortrary. We hope you enjoyed discussion. Sure.
Yeah.
On the Western Sycamore. Sure.
Yeah. Our reflection underneath this nice sycamore tree, which is always where philosophers consider rhetoric.
Yes. And you and I, the biggest philosophers in the game.
That's right. Step aside. Nietzsche.
We got to give a rating to this tree now, Casey, and here's how it works. We're going to give some final thoughts on the Western Sycamore, and then give it a rating of 0 to 10 golden cones of honor. As our resident expert, we'll begin with you.
All right. That sounds fabulous. I love sycamore trees. I love sitting under sycamore trees, both in the metaverse and in real life.
Wow.
I also love their shape. I love how they look. I love everything about them because you can spot them from a mile away and you're like, boom, there's a sycamore tree. It looks amazing. It's great. And I, in particular, like this one. I actually ran into it and one of its cousins. I believe it's actually Platanus mexicana, one that grows in the little bit further to the southwest and the south. But there's a few different ones that grow down there, and I found a few of them down the southwest amongst my travels a couple years ago, and I was stunned by how beautiful they were.
Wow.
So this is a tree that I think is gorgeous, and I love a tree that encourages you to slow down, sit underneath it, relax, and just take a step away for a moment and just relax. Just breathe and be, and then you can get back to it just after that. So I am going to give this tree a 9.5 out of 10 golden cones.
Wow.
Because I just think they are spectacular.
Lovely score, Casey. Wow.
There you go. That's a big one.
Cones of honor.
It's a big one. For a relatively unknown tree as well. I don't think a lot of people pay too much attention to this.
Sure. I mean, I'll start my review there. I don't know much. I didn't know much about the Sycamore. I pretty much still don't. That's okay. That's not what this episode was about. But Sycamore as a word is like classic. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I know exactly what you mean.
It's like a lyric in 8 billion songs sitting under the sycamore tree. You know, like it's such a literary word. Gorgeous bark. I love it so much. Gorgeous leaves are okay, I'll say.
You don't like Yoda hand leaves? What is this, man? Who are you?
We got cat face leaves. We got Yoda hand leaves. Got dinosaur paw print leaves. Boy, I'm really torn here.
I appreciate your contemplation, though. That's on theme.
That's right, Casey. I'm gonna go ahead and give the Sycamore an 8.75.
8 3/4.
The only reason I'm not going to 9+, Casey.
What's not getting you up there?
Is that I don't really have like an emotional attachment to these trees.
Ah, okay.
In the way that I might with some other trees. Or it hasn't really come up a lot for me in my life. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I can't quite get to like, I feel like 9+ is like, I have like an emotional reason, not just an intellectual reason to like this tree.
Yeah, you've had those peaches. You love them. You know why.
Yeah, exactly. In my heart, I love mango trees.
Yeah.
But if I didn't like mango fruit, then I would be like, I don't know, it's okay.
Okay.
So that's kind of where I am. 8.75.
8.75. I think that's a pretty good score. I mean, I think that score rounds it down to just past 9 on the average.
Why not?
It's pretty good.
Well, that was our discussion of the American Sycamore. Casey, it's time. Excuse me, the Western Sycamore. Casey, it's time for a game.
Oh, we have a game. Oh, you guys, congratulations. You get now to experience the longest episode we've ever had.
Oh, it will be edited, my friend. Casey, this is one that we've played a lot in the past, but we haven't played it for a long time.
Ooh, okay.
This is Binomial Bonanza. Now, Casey, more aptly, I should say this one is called Nom Al Nan.
Nom Al Nan.
You see, I've got a little script here, so play along, huh? This one's a little wonky. In fact, you could say it's only half there. That's right, Casey. I'm going to give you binomial names for trees, and you'll need to identify the common names. But here's the twist. You'll only get every other syllable.
No.
Sound like fun?
Oh, yeah.
Alex? Oh, come now. I think you'll have a great time.
Oh, I was supposed to say no.
Or, great. I think so too.
Oh, you're reading the script too perfectly. This is choose your own adventure. You got to choose one or the other.
Oh, right. Okay. That's right, Casey. So I have a list of binomial names, and I will be giving you every other syllable.
Oh, God.
To see if you can uncover what these binomial names are.
So are these are actual trees? These are actually names? You haven't made any of these up?
These are real trees.
Okay.
And real binomials, but I've cut out every other syllable.
Jeez. Okay. That
I came up with this idea as I was falling asleep last night.
Yeah, when you were on a 24-hour sleep deprivation moment.
Yep.
This is when you came up with it.
I was like, that might be fun.
Why am I not surprised, Alex? Why am I not surprised?
All right, so I'm going to put 2 minutes on the
2
clock.
minutes. Okay. All right. Let's see if I can do this.
All right, here we go, Case. The bonanza begins now. Quare lore full.
That's going to be Quercus laurifolia, which would be the willow. That's not the willow oak. It's the laurel oak.
Correct.
Laurifolia. Yes.
Ham mel x ter I.
That would be Hamamelis intermedia. That is the hybrid witch hazel. Normal
Correct.
witch hazel. Yes. Okay.
Nam mum 4.
Namum 4. So you cut out the first one, I think. So chrysanthemum, but that's not a tree.
Nam mum 4.
Namum 4. Oh, God, Alex, this was hard. Namum 4.
You can pass.
Okay, I got to pass on this one. That was hard.
That was Cinnamomum camphora.
Oh,
The camphor.
dang it.
Press dupe I na.
That is the Sahara cypress, Cupressus
Correct.
dupresiana. Wow.
Pi sub ni na.
Pi sub nina. So pi would be pinus or picea. Pi na. Pinus. So okay. Say the second one again.
Pi sub ni na.
Okay. So it's pinus. Is it sabiniana? Is it the ghost pine?
Correct.
Yes. Oh God.
Col ter pan ku ta.
Oh yeah, that's Coluteria paniculata. What man? So many syllables in that. Holy
Correct.
shit.
Time up, but let's keep going. Al rube.
Red alder, Alnus rubra.
Correct.
Jeez.
More da try e.
I think it's gonna be more Morris. More try no, because that's Morris. Alba and rubra. I'm
gonna say this one again.
Ones are.
More da tri e.
More da tri e. More.
This is Morinda citrifolia noni.
God, I would not have got that. I forgot that name already.
Tax di dis cum.
Oh, that's a bald cypress. Taxodium disticum.
Correct.
Wow.
Man car zap ta.
Man car zapta.
Man care zap ta.
What?
Bit of a deep cut.
Man. Man. M-A-N?
Mm-hmm. Man car zap ta.
I don't know.
This is Manilcara zapota sapodia.
Oh, jeez. Oh, man. I got to go back and review some of these. Okay. Yeah. Let's do it.
Sud su men si.
That's what Douglas first. Pseudotsuga.
Correct.
Menzizi.
That's it.
Man, that was hard. Some of those were real challenging.
How was that? That was pretty fun.
Yeah, honestly, the shorter there is a sweet spot. If it's long enough, then I feel like you can get a few of them, but it also confuses you.
Yeah, I think like 3 to 4 syllables is pretty good.
Yeah, that was a good one, Alex. That was a challenge.
Well, thanks, guys. Great job too. I think you only missed 2 of them.
I think so, 2 or 3. Oh, I think I missed 3. I skipped 1. I think 3.
Okay.
Either
That's
way.
Okay though. That was Binomial Bonanza or Gnome All Nan. Casey, it's time for our completely arbitrary AMA. This one comes from Owen.
Well, hello, Owen.
Owen says, "Hey, Casey and Alex. Hey, Owen. Hope you're both doing well.
Thank you. How are you?
Our answer to that quandary is the rest of this episode.
Yeah, see previous.
Have you guys done an episode on the tan oak?
I don't know that we have.
I don't think we have, Casey. And Owen is writing tan oak in one word, which I want to talk about maybe.
Okay. Yeah.
Thought that could be a good one. Its taxonomy in relation to other species could make for an interesting episode. Now, Casey.
He's very right. Yes.
I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. Wink, wink. We're just full of fun games today because we're going to play another game of sorts.
What? Alex, that's not
right.
how this works.
I'm going to set another timer for 5 minutes.
Okay. And
you are going to give us an entire episode of Completely Arbortrary on the tan oak.
Oh, okay.
So I can
do that.
We need tree ID.
Yeah.
We need some interesting facts and also where does it grow.
Yeah. Okay. I can do that.
Okay. And then at the very end, we need your cone score.
Okay. I can do that.
Okay. Casey, here's tan oak. Go.
All right. Thanks, Alex. All right. So let's ID this tree. First off, it is an evergreen broadleaf tree that grows natively in southern Oregon and northern California. It's related to the oaks and it's related to the chestnuts. So it's got these little skinny leaves that are kind of lanceolate. They're very shiny on the top, green. You flip them over and they're a nice lighter greenish yellow color. And they are large evergreen growing trees, but they also can stay as shrubs in like harsher habitats if you're high elevations or growing in areas that have poor soil, such as serpentine soils in the Siskiyous and Klamath Mountains. And they are commonly planted, or at least found down there. And up here, they're planted more often because they're an evergreen conifer that can take much more heat. So it has a really unique thing about this tree. It starts with its pollen flowers, which are more similar to a chestnut in the genus Castanea. And they then pollinate flowers, the ovule flowers, that are more similar to the oaks. They have fruit that is an acorn, which everyone will say, but wait a second, Casey, I thought only oaks have acorn fruit, which is correct. This has an acorn, but it's not an oak because the pollen flower is different. So it actually turns out that Notholithocarpus densiflorus, the name for this particular tree, is in fact a very quintessential idea of a missing link kind of tree, where it is in fact probably a derivative of one of the ancient ancestors of both oaks and of the chestnuts. So it is a tree that has parts like either, but not the whole like either, so it doesn't actually get to be put in. It's a lot like the Kari, where the Kari looks a lot like, the Wollemi pine, where it looks a lot like the Kari, but also a lot like the monkey puzzles or the Araucaria. So it's neither each. So it's this like nice little thing in between. So really cool tree because of that. Something that's fascinating about it is it has big acorns, and those acorns were the most delectable by the native peoples in the area where it grew because they were big and they have fewer tannins in it. So they didn't have to leach for as long. And so it would taste better and over a quicker period of time, and you could smash up those little seeds. I think I would give this tree a review and a rating like this. I think this tree is lovely. I'm happy that you can plant it all over the place. I don't think it necessarily has a big, gorgeous, beautiful crown like a lot of big trees. I don't think it has the stateliness of either a chestnut or an oak, or even a beech tree, which are all in the same family. Although I do think it has a nice form if you let it grow up, and it has the opportunity to kind of grow off of the canyon walls that it likes to live in. But overall, I think it's kind of just an okay tree. I think we should plant more of it, but I don't think it's quite as stately as other trees. So I'm going to give it a 7.3 out of 10 golden cones of honor.
And time.
Thank you. That's exactly 5 minutes?
No, you got another minute and 33 left. But I thought it would be exciting.
That's for the game, and that's for the that's for the question and answer.
Oh, yes. Should we do another AMA within this smaller one?
A really quick one. Yeah.
Great job, Case.
Nice. Thanks. I love that little tree.
Yeah, that was a great one. And there's
Cool.
your episode on the tan oak, Owen. We hope you enjoyed it. If you've got a question for us, or you just want to support the podcast, I'll say or you want to support the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
There's a great way to do this, everyone. It's called Completely Arbortrary Treemium, and it happens at arbortrarypod.supercast.com. That's ARBORTRARY pod.supercast.com. You can become a sustained member with an annual membership or a monthly membership to support this podcast that you love so much. We literally depend on people subscribing to the podcast to keep the lights on. Literally.
We sure do. We literally do. Yeah, I have lights on me right now.
You know how much I love lamps, Casey.
You do. You very much do. That's something that we'll have to talk about on a different episode, Alex.
No, we will not be doing that. It's the best way to support the podcast. Of course, another great way to support the podcast is to go buy a piece of merch. Arbortrarypod.com/merch. We've got all kinds of fun things. Totes, t-shirts, patches, stickers, hats.
Yeah. And you know what? You know what, Alex? You know what? I think we should do a sale. I think we should do a sale right now.
Oh my God.
For the entire month of October. It is. We never make up choices in right as we're doing it.
What?
Yeah, we don't do this often. You're right. Never mind.
No, that was well said. So what should the sale be, Case?
Let's take 15% off for a nice spooky fall. 13% off. 13%
because
off.
Of Friday the 13th.
It's a very spooky idea. Exactly.
Okay. With coupon code Friday.
Yeah. It's happening right now. He's doing it right now, you guys. I can see him typing.
I'm currently making it.
So while you're doing that, I'll let everyone know that we're going to have hats up for sale. Those are going to be put up, I think, probably here pretty soon. I don't know that we'll actually give the coupon code for that because these are all handmade, and we're very excited to put them up. I'm wearing one right now. And I'm wearing one of the originals, in fact. So we're going to put those up for sale here pretty soon. But in the meantime, go jump on and get yourself a tote bag. We still have several tote bags. They are adorable. They're beautiful. I love them. I use mine all the time. We also have 3 different kind of shirts. And again, if you sign up for that Supercast support premium style, then you can get access to our hidden cone store, which the new password was just put out. So if you are in there and you're looking to get those cones, jump onto the website on Supercast and you'll get access to it.
That's right. Now, everyone, this is called the Friday the 13% off with discount code Friday.
That's right.
Get 13% off any order, and we are not limiting one per customer, Casey.
No, you can do as many as you want.
And that goes through the end of Halloween Day.
Exactly. So on All Hallows Day, it's done.
Evil dies tonight. Well, Case.
All right. What a nice long talk, Alex. Thanks for sharing it with me.
Yeah, that's great. We had a good time. We talked about life and love and trees. What more could you ask for? You
can't ask for anything. I do have one extra thing that I want to note. Notholithocarpus densiflorus. It has a nice pubescence on its leaves, and I forgot to note that. And I don't want it to get confused with the chinkapin, another tree that's closely related, Chrysolepis chrysophylla. Different tree, but I often get them confused. That's the easiest, best way to tell them apart.
You know how it infuriates me when you interject in the flow of the structure of the episode, Casey.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Alex.
Might as well crash your car into my fruit stand.
I might as well. Well, you know what? I'll leave it up to you if you have to edit everything out.
No, I'll keep it in.
Wow.
This is part of my growth as a
person. This is your magnanimity right here.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Completely Arbortrary, everybody. Hey, we'll see ya next time. Goodbye.
See ya.
Completely Arbortrary is produced by Alex Crowson and Casey Clapp. Our artwork is by Jillian Barthold, and our music is by Aves and the Mini Vandals. If you want to support this podcast and become a Treemium member, head over to arbortrarypod.supercast.com. Thanks for listening.